Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a surprise video on the Nars Climax palette. Now, I mentioned surprise because I was not supposed to buy this palette. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen that I recently made a dupe palette for this, and I mentioned it actually as in my favorites in the last monthly roundup. I have been enjoying that dupe palette and that color story so much that I decided to go and get the real thing. Contributor to that is a gift card that I got for my birthday for the department store that sells Nars here. So I purchased it with that, so it came out to a €10 expense for me. The palette is retailing for €50 in the department stores. You can find it for a little bit less, but it's also going out of stock everywhere. So Cult Beauty doesn't have it anymore. I haven't seen it on Feel Unique either, and I could only find it in local shops or web shops here in the Netherlands. And that also maybe gave me a little bit of FOMO to think that, yeah, I might not be able to get my hands on it because it was limited edition. I think it was a release for not summer but fall, and I couldn't let it go. The color story is the perfect fall color story. It has the more cool tone mauve nudes. It has your greens and the chocolatey burgundy brown. It has your more neutrally browns, a beautiful rose gold. This blue is for me not really interesting. I haven't used it yet at all actually, and I don't see myself using it, but that does not take away from the beauty and the versatility of this palette. This would really be an everyday palette for me because I often wear earth tones and greens. I mean, I'm staying at home and my home outfit is all shades of green actually. So yeah, this is the perfect fall color story for me right now and what I'm really wearing a lot of. It comes in a plastic packaging that is similar to the Climax mascara. I hate it. It's so ugly. I don't even want to look at it. Let me open it so I can look at the inside. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I hang out with a child for too much. It also contains a very nice big mirror right here, and it takes up the whole size of the palette. There's really very little wasted space in here. I find the format very cute. It's very small, it fits in your hand very well, and yeah, it is just a great little palette. But what we're gonna do in this video today is swatching the palette, comparing it to the dupe palette that I put together a few weeks ago, at least a month ago. I don't know exactly when I put this one together. And at the end of the video, you will also have a tutorial on this look, so you are going to be able to see how the eyeshadows apply on the eyes, because I think that's also quite important. Without further ado, let's get into the swatches. Here we are. I'm gonna start with a clean arm, no primer, no nothing, and I'm gonna be applying the swatches of the Nars palette on top. Here's the first one. It's a very pretty, quite neutral transition shade. It is not too pink, not too yellow. And the dupe I had picked was Nabla Kids, which is quite a bit more peachy and warm than the one in the Nabla palette, than the one in the Nars palette. But as you can see, it's, let's say, in the same value. It's a very good transition shade for my skin tone. These mattes are super velvety to feel, and they actually feel quite a lot like the Nabla feather matte, actually, feather matte eyeshadows. The next one is a mauve transition or crease shade. It's a medium toned eyeshadow, very pretty. On me it shows up quite cool tones or more neutral than I've seen swatches, where they were looking really warm to me. It really isn't. I had picked the shade Leon by Nabla, also in their feather mattes, and as you can see, it's a little bit darker, but they have a very similar undertone. So if you either pack on the Nars or you sheer out the Nabla one, they are very similar. Now for the first shimmer, it's a beautiful champagne, sparkly, chunky shimmer. It's not a boring, regular metallic. It really is one of these more modern formulas. For that shade, I had picked Pink Champagne by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it is, as the name says, a bit more pink than the champagne color in the Nars palette. The texture is very similar though, and yeah, they're both gorgeous. One is a little bit more pink and one is a little bit more neutral. Very, very nice. The next shade is another one of these chunky shimmers, and it's a beautiful rose gold. Honestly, one of the most beautiful ones that I've seen. Again, with a lot of texture and sparkle and really this modern shimmer feel that you want to have. And I originally had picked Herbarz by Glamshop, but you can see that it's quite golden in comparison. What might be a little bit more similar, and I'll put it here, is Grandstand by Makeup Geek in terms of shade, but the one from Makeup Geek does not have the sparkle. You can see it's a very smooth metallic, whereas the one from Nars really is sparkly and multi-dimensional. And the same holds for the one from Glamshop. It has the same texture as the Nars. Next up is the green shimmer, and again you have a chunky sparkly finish, but you can see that it's not very green. You'll see it also on my eyes when I apply it in the tutorial later, or you've seen it maybe in the intro. It's not very green. It has more of a champagne shimmer on top, and the base is a bit more gray-green than proper green. I had originally chosen a shade from Glamshop called Orion from the Remix palette. And this one here has a bit more of a green reflect to it. It's not that far off actually. They look further off in the pan, but the Nars one is definitely more neutral with a more, as I said, champagne shimmer, whereas the Glamshop one is more green. For comparison, I have also picked Extra Virgin by Nabla, which is a olive green with a little bit of a lighter golden shift, but this is a very smooth metallic. And then also Venom by Makeup Geek, which is a darker green, and Take Two by Makeup Geek, which is one of their foiled eyeshadows. So all of these are more green than the Nars one, and they don't have all the sparkle. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me that the Nars eyeshadow is not really that green. It's more of like a, I don't know, neutral green. Let's put it that, natural green. I don't know how to call it. Next up is the only regular shimmer in this palette by Nars, and this is a brown shimmer, and like more of a bronzy brown shimmer with a reasonably cool shimmer shine to it, as you can see. The shade I had picked is Hot to Trot from the Morphe 35M palette, which finish wise is similar, but it's much warmer both in base, and the sheen on top here is a pink and red compared to this one, which is more, again, champagne-y, I'd say. Next up is the Green Matte, and again, more gray than I anticipated and less green than I thought it would be. It is very easy to blend and very velvety to the touch. It's very finely milled powder, but it's much more gray than I thought. I had picked Radikal by Nabla instead, and you can see that it's much more olive and less gray compared to the one in the palette. So it's just a different vibe. There's less color in the Nars palette. I keep calling it Nabla, don't I? Next up we have the darker, more burgundy chocolatey difficult type of brown in the Nars palette, and I had picked Inglot number 298. And they're really similar, if not that the Nars one has a bit more red in it, and the Inglot is a bit more neutral. So you can see the difference in shade right here. But they're very, very close actually. Also, if I show you my fingers. Very, very close. And the last shade in the palette is the blue. And this is quite a cool toned gray, steely blue. It's not that blue at all. And it kind of fits with the story of a more neutral but colorful palette. I had gone completely in the other direction. I had picked a shade from Glamshop. It's called Bravo from the Remix palette, and it's much more teal. But it also, this palette fits my, let's say, loves for more colorful and more true colors compared to neutrals. Whereas the Nars is really much more neutral. So I haven't tried this blue steel color yet on my eyes. Looking at it swatched, I think it fits very, very well with the rest of the palette, and I can really see it work. Maybe at some point when I will, I don't know, wear something that is quite cool toned, I might dare to wear it. We will see. It's not a color that I usually go for. But here are all the swatches and comparisons between the Nars Climax palette and the dupes I had picked out before I bought the palette. So I'm also checking if I actually hit the target. And I think except for the rose gold that I picked out much more warm, the rest is quite simple. Well, and the last one, because I don't wear blue, so I don't have that color. I think the mattes are quite similar. The green is not that as far off as I thought. And formula-wise, I can say that the mattes of the Nars palette are quite similar to the Nabla Feather Matte, which are some of my favorite matte formulations. And the shimmers in the Nars palette are quite close to some of the more sparkly Glamshop type of shades, which makes me extremely happy because finally a mainstream brand is bringing out more sparkly eyeshadows and not just simple metallics. There's only one metallic, more regular shimmer here, but it looks really pretty and it is a more subdued tone anyways. So here we go. Now let's move on to the tutorial. Let's get started with this eye look. I am going to start in the crease or more transition area with the lightest shade in the palette, and this one for me is a very good transition. You can see that it actually does give definition to my eye, and it could be a very natural makeup day. You can see that it really gives depth to my eye already, and it corrects a little bit my hooded eye. It's difficult to find such a good shade for this, to be honest, because often nowadays they are very warm and it doesn't look as natural, and this one right here has a perfect tone for it, for my skin tone. Again, it will look different if you have a different skin tone, but I really like the tone of this shade. On a slightly smaller brush, I'm going to go with the other more transition neutral shade, and this is a darker mauve, and it's very elegant, I must say. I really like it. It reminds me of maybe Imago by Lethal Cosmetics, but less intense, in the sense that one is really gray and mauve, whereas this one is more on the neutral side. It works really well to deepen the crease a little bit, and again, this is a very elegant everyday makeup if you want to put a little bit of any of the neutral shimmers, either this one or even this one, more rose gold, and it will look really, really good. But if you know me, I need to be using the green, and I've already used the green. I've already used all of the shades. So actually no, I didn't use the blue yet, because I don't think I would ever wear it, to be honest. That blue is not in my palette. And the first time I used this green, I must say I was a little bit disappointed, in the sense that it seemed very gray, but in the end, yeah, it's a very wearable green. Of course, I can go and do green looks with the, I don't know, Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette or any other green palette, but this one is meant to be a more wearable. it's also not more of Nars style, right? Not to do very bright colors, but more a neutral spin on colors. And in the pan it really does look very green, but on the eye I find that it's not too green. To me this is still a very neutral look. If you'd use a brown or a dark gray, it would be the same thing. Then I'm taking the green shimmer right here and apply it in the center of my lid. And this is quite chunky and I just got a bit of fallout there, but a very beautiful dimensional shimmer. And that is the case with most of these eyeshadows. And that's a very big step forward for Nars, I find, because these type of textures now have taken over the eyeshadow market, and you can't really stay into the old simple metallic shimmers anymore. You have to move forward. For the rest of the eye, I think I'm gonna go in with the rose gold just on the other side of my brush and apply it in the inner part of my eye. And I said I was not going to buy this, but I thought about it so much and so often that when I got a gift card for my birthday, I decided to go for it. What can I say? Taking my eyeliner from Neve Cosmetics in the shade Night, which is a, green, olive military green, let's say. It's quite desaturated, it's very similar to that green that we have on the outer V. And just applying it as my usual on the outer part of my upper and lower lash line. Then I'm taking the green again and just applying it down here on the outer part of the eye. The matte green, I must say. And with the smaller brush, I'm taking the other light neutral shimmer, and this is mainly to show you the difference in colors on my eyes, because I could also just have gone with with the rose gold all over. But I think you can actually combine these quite nicely. These are just light enough for me to use as an inner corner highlight, but they're not really beaming highlights, let's say. So if you're a bit lighter, that might not work for you. And then with the other side of the brush, I'm going in with the green, just in the center there to mimic what I did on the upper lash line. And that is the look. Mascara, and I'll be back. Here's the finished look with the mascara on, and to be honest, it's a perfect everyday but also special occasion, and it's sparkly but still neutral in tones. It is green but not too green. I think it's a very, very elegant color story and perfect for the way I'm feeling my makeup these days, which is earthy tones and neutrals but with a twist and sparkly shimmers. So overall, yeah, I'm liking the palette. I'm happy I splurged on it. I hope this video was useful and you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.